everyone, we are on episode 3 of season 3 of Sanditon. The end of season 3 is like one of the best moments of the season, but the entire episode, my favorite entire episode of season 3 is episode 3. I'm so excited to talk about this. We should get started.
What are these letters if not proof of my father's love? I know who I am. Whatever Lockhart threatens, he will not win.
Georgiana is on the way, I assume it's London, on the way to the trial with Charlotte and Mary to fight together with the lawyer Samuel against Lockhart. This is a huge step forward for Georgiana. It takes a lot of courage to do this. And it's something that she doesn't want to do, like personally. Like she doesn't want to do this, waste time, but this is about her life, her future. It doesn't hurt to try. She's willing to stand for herself, for her life, and hopefully it goes well for her.
And I have every faith in your lawyer. Mr. Colburn is impressive indeed. We owe his brother our profound thanks.
They're very thankful that Samuel came into the picture. I think it's a great addition, the character, to season 3. But in the world of Sanditon, they are very grateful that Samuel is able to make time and efforts to help Georgiana on this trial. And Mary made a point about thanking Alexander for his help in getting her brother to be on board with this. And that look on Charlotte's face. Anything about Alexander, like any mention of his name, it definitely has some reaction from Charlotte, and that look on her face. To me, I think the meaning of that reaction on Charlotte's face when Mary said, "Oh, we should thank Alexander." I think this whole thing is touching Charlotte's heart. I'm pretty sure she appreciates Alexander for what he did to get his brother to Sanditon to help Georgiana on this trial, and going to the trial now together. But more than that, that reaction to me is that she still has some feeling for him, and she trying to like deny it.
So Uncle Samuel's profession is to stand up and argue?
Essentially, yes.
And if he makes a poor job of it, then Miss Lambe will lose her whole fortune.
Regrettably so.
Alrighty, the newspaper that Alexander's reading, it's pretty cool how they created that newspaper, just to make it look like in real time in this scene in the world of Sanditon. And I was thinking to like pause on it and kind of like read some of it. I know some of it are like blurred out, but I thought it would be fun to try to read it. Let me know if you can read the whole thing. I think I'm gonna miss some of those words because it's like part of the newspaper is blurred out. The title of the article that he is reading, of course, about Georgiana, the title is West Indian Heiress Defends Her Fortune in the Chancery Court. The impending litigation between the West Indian mulatto heiress Miss Georgiana Lambe, but however the spelling is Lattori, I don't know if that, an error, and her husband, the Englishman, Mrs. Charles Lockhart, is set to ignite fervent chatter among the ordinary public and fashionable society alike. There's something in question, I don't know what the word is, the blank in question is over where Miss Lambe had the right to inherit her father's fortune, was reportedly £100,000, which is a lot back in those days, right? Over Mr. Lockhart, was blank that he is the rightful sole heir to the late Mr. Lambe's fortune. So Alexander is staying in touch with the news, the updates of the trial between Georgiana and Lockhart, and of course he is supporting his brother Samuel as the lawyer for Georgiana, and this family, they want the best outcome for Georgiana, of course.
Augusta, is there something on your mind? You're barely present.
I'm just concerned for poor Miss Lambe.
Here is a guest list for the shooting party, sir. We need to make the final arrangements.
Must we?
Augusta is thinking a lot about Edward. You know, like your first love, your first relationship, or your first crush. Like, you think about that person all the time. We all been there, done that. That's what Augusta is going through in the scene. She's thinking a lot about all the conversation and moments she had with Edward, and her uncle still had no idea. Mr. Whitley came over with the guest list for the shooting party, so Alexander is proceeding with that plan that Samuel suggested before he left for the trial. This is a good idea. I mean, this house is just like only family, you know, for the past well, it's only happened like the second season of Hayward Park, but pretend that this house has been standing in this location like for many years, right? And we just didn't know it yet until season 2. But it's a great idea, in my opinion, to have a shooting party, to bring the house back to life, and just to have fun. I think this family needs it. You know, it's fun to plan a party at your home once in a while.
Rather wish my brother had never suggested it.
Nonetheless, sir, the invitations have been sent out. So assuming the trial is over in time, you will soon find yourself in the position of host.
Alexander, he is a reserved man. We did find out that he can be quiet, in his true nature. But if he does end up hosting the shooting party instead of Samuel, if the trial does not end on time, I think it will be entertaining to watch Alexander host a party at his house, which we never seen before until this season.
I suppose at least there'll be a number of respectable young men for you to meet, Augusta.
A thrilling prospect indeed.
He mentioned about the young men that will be coming to the shooting party, and he thought of the positive side for his niece Augusta to meet more eligible young men. So that's a good sign. He is progressing on that. He opening more and more to the idea that his niece will eventually leave the house soon and get married to an eligible man according to his standards.
What about Miss Hayward?
I assume she will return home after the trial. She has a wedding to prepare for, after all.
Leonora picks up on a lot of things in season 3 between her father and Miss Hayward and that relationship. Very brave of her to ask her dad about Miss Hayward. I have to applaud Alexander though. He remained calm. He didn't show much reaction on his face when his daughter asked him about Miss Hayward. He just straightforwardly answered the question. We know deep down, inside his heart, he doesn't like seeing Charlotte go back to London, but he knows that's her future at the moment and that she will most likely not come back to Sanditon, especially if Willenden is her future with Ralph.
They say she stands to lose her entire fortune.
Your heart breaks for her.
Have every sympathy. I know what it's like to be pursued by a grasping relative.
I'm not a man that I was, Aunt, thanks to your interventions.
Lady Denham also reads the newspaper, and she understands what Georgiana is going through, and I thought this is like the nicest thing that Lady Denham ever said about Georgiana. She feels sympathy for her. She understands what she's going through. She dealt it with her own nephew, Edward, and Clara in season 1 and 2.
Sometimes I wonder if men possess the capacity to change, or if your natures are fixed at birth.
If you'll excuse me, I might take my daily exercise. A bracing canter to improve the mind.
Then Lady Denham mentioned about how men, rarely change. Like, they are fixed at their birth. Like, they are fixed in their nature at birth. Like, men doesn't adapt to changes. Like, they don't easily improve. Like, wherever their personality is or how they grew up, they will stay the same for the rest of their lives. Not only she describing Edward and the program that he is in to become a better man, but I think Lady Denham was also talking about Mr. Price. The last time we saw Mr. Price and Lady Denham together was at the recital, and he mentioned about how he made the mistake of letting Lady Denham go when they were young in the past, and that has some feeling that opened the door to her feelings again for him that she had in the past. And she wondered, like, okay, if Mr. Price, is he a good man? Like, is he not gonna leave her at the altar again if they try this relationship again? Like, she doesn't want to get hurt. She doesn't want to waste time. If she wants to be with Mr. Price, I think she needs that confidence that he will stay and not leave her again. This scene, the Monroe family, it's like really interesting and funny at the same time that this situation of the mom trying to find her kids, their future spouses, it's just like the attention and focus is on the mom. Like, this is happening because of the mom. Like, this is something that the mom wants, and it's really sad too at the same time that Harry and Lydia don't have the freedom to chase after the person that they want to be with. Like, Lydia, she had that boyfriend in the past, and her mom, he wasn't that great. That feeling of disapproval from your parent over a boyfriend or a girlfriend, it sucks. Of course it would be nice if your parents approve your future spouse, but the question is Lydia still have feeling for that old boyfriend that her mom rejected? And Harry with Georgiana, now Harry is interested to stay with Georgiana, at least as a friend, and his mom is now proving that after reading the newspaper and finding out about what's going on with Georgiana and the trial. And the mom just we need to find another replacement. And that's even more work for Harry, because the mom pushes him to be romantic and to get the attention of a woman that she thinks is best for Harry. And she thought that it was Georgiana, but now, with the child, she doesn't want the bad reputation of the child to come upon her family. So that's why she asked for a replacement to replace Georgiana. And Harry, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not wasting time. I like Georgiana, as a friend at least. It's working out so far. And then the mom turned to Lydia, the power is in your hands now. You're the one that need to make the right decision. If you got a good man with a lot of money, we good for now. And Harry had just take a little bit longer in finding a replacement. So Lydia, why are you pressuring me, in doing all of this? And Lydia had that sarcastic comments from time to time, that sense of humor, mocking her mom. Instead of disrespecting her, instead of yelling or arguing with her in the angry tone, she made this remarks about her mom, in a funny way. And I think that speaks highly of how she feels toward her mom. She doesn't like it. She would rather be with her ex-boyfriend that her mom didn't approve, that took him away from her. So there's a lot going on in the Monroe family, and the big reason, of course, is money. They need money. We cannot blame on Arthur. He didn't know what Lockhart was up to, and Georgiana knows that too. It shows that he really cared for Georgiana. The emotion on his face in the scene worries about her very much. And Tom trying to be positive. Arthur used to be the positive brother of the family, and now Tom is taking that place in the scene to be positive for Arthur and reminding him hey, we need to be optimistic. This is England, it's not like they're in Antigua or in a country that supports slavery 100%. It's a little bit different in England. It can go both ways. And that's what Tom trying to remind Arthur, Georgiana can win. She can win this case.
afraid that Lord Chancellor Cornford's prejudice will not make him sympathetic to your cause. He will judge your actions as much as your words. So whatever this piece of evidence is that they've threatened us with...
Samuel is warning Georgiana out of the kindness of his heart. He is right. She just wants her to be prepared, something that she needs to keep an eye out during the trial.
You must try to maintain your composure.
I would not give Lockhart the satisfaction.
At least it's a closed court. You'll be spared a gallery of corpus.
That is a nice bonus. Like, there's a closed court, so there are no reporters, there are no members of the public that will be listening in to every detail of the trial. So that's like one less thing to worry about for Georgiana.
Mr. Colburn, Miss Lambe, Mr. Parrish, representing Mr. Lockhart. He would prefer to settle this matter now and will offer you £5,000 to spare you the humiliation of a trial, which in all likelihood...
He turned to Georgiana, Mr. Parrish, and he had this like arrogant boldness, confidence about him. He's like, we're gonna win, you're gonna lose. Lockhart is giving you one last chance to not go through the trial and to give you money and to keep you hush-hush. And not, you know, fight for your life. It's annoying, you know, that arrogance, thinking that, you know, the devil is gonna win, but the good side, you know, can still win in court. You know, the good always win, right, over the evil. So there's like a bad negative energy that Georgiana doesn't need, and unfortunately she is dealing with it right now before the start of the trial.
You will lose.
Have you no shame?
Samuel is very protective of Georgiana. He said it right there at the end, like, don't you feel ashamed for yourself for saying that to Georgiana? We haven't even like started the trial. Also, Mr. Parrish trying to, you know, get into Georgiana's mind, like she's gonna lose, like trying to convince her to expect that she's gonna lose. She just needs to keep that confidence in her and to know that she still can win this case. Samuel, he is all for Georgiana and he supports her cause and her beliefs and who she is as a woman. So it's nice to have a lawyer that understands you and supports you 100%. Here we go with the trial.
Mr. Price, it is extremely bad manners to call unannounced.
He came to Lady Denham's house unannounced. I gotta say though, him riding that buggy, like that's impressive at his own, at his age. You know, no butler, like no help. He just like casually riding into Lady Denham's property.
Forgive me, my lady. I was wondering if I might tempt you to take a ride in my buggy.
Certainly not. What's a man your age want with such a ridiculous item? You may have no dignity, but you're not going to sully mine.
He is continuing the friendship with her. Technically, he just asked her out, like, hey, do you want to, you know, take a ride in his buggy? You know, it's like an improper date, like a play date. It's not official, but it is at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. He's just like, no. Lady Denham, I think she's that type of woman that has high standards when it comes to, like, going on a date.
I've always thought that dignity was a highly overrated virtue.
Evidently.
Tell me, will you be appearing at Mr. Coburn's shooting party at Herrick Park?
I'm considering it.
Splendid.
Lady Denham, she just has the high standards. She doesn't lower her standards, you know. She expects much from a man. Like, if a man wants to love her, like, she's like, you need to love me right.
It might be vaguely tolerable. Perhaps we should arrive together, unless you find the thought too abhorrent.
I suppose I could endure it.
I think he taking this shooting party at the Herrick Park as another attempt to go on and have a casual date together. And he said, oh, it's something that he can tolerate. He's the type of guy that he doesn't go to social events that much, but he's willing to go to the shooting party. Even though he doesn't know the Heybourne family that much, he's willing to go with Lady Denham if she will be there.
But we'll take my carriage, not that absurd buggy of yours.
He scores, he wins, so he will go on this improper date with Lady Denham, that +1 to the party, and she wanted to take her carriage instead. Like I said, she wanted, fancy, high standards, like, yeah, my carriage is better than yours. And arriving together kind of like make it like an unofficial announcement that they are a couple, but not just yet. Like not confirmed yet, but I think and stir some talk within the guests at the party, like, oh, Lady Denham with a man by her side. The next scene is Augusta taking another walk outside. Her uncle is staying on top of her. He watches her every move. Leonora, she wants to join Augusta. It's nice to see Leonora and Augusta getting along better in season 3. That's my opinion. I don't know about you, but it's nice that they have this closer sister-like relationship between these two girls. Augusta, she is like falling for Edward like too deep now. She often thinks about him, and that's not good.
My father died young, Mr. Parrish. So in many respects, I came to regard Uncle Frederick as a father figure. How I revered that man.
I don't think we ever got to hear the first name of Georgiana's father, Frederick, that was his name. And this is the beginning of the trial, Lockhart explaining his relationship to his uncle.
But in all the years I knew and loved him, my lord, not once did he ever make mention of a child.
So it must have come as a shock, Mr. Lockhart, when you learned of Miss Lamb's claim.
Oh, I was confounded.
Okay, that is a complete lie. Georgiana would never lie about a relationship with her father. Like, she knew she had a dad. She met him. She grew up with her dad present in her life. So this is totally a complete lie. And Charlotte and Georgiana looking at each other like, what? Like, that's a complete crap, I would say.
Suddenly I learned of this outrageous claim being made by my uncle's illegitimate daughter.
That is a lie.
My lord, it is hardly fair to call Miss Lambe illegitimate.
Carry on, Mr. Lockhart.
Definitely the first time Georgiana realized, like, okay, this judge is a pain in the butt. He really doesn't want to be on my side. So far, it looks like the judge is favoring Lockhart's side and allowing him to continue to speak and saying these lies about Georgiana and how she is not the true daughter of Frederick.
But then I learned that my unfortunate uncle had allowed himself to be seduced by one of his house slaves.
A West Indian temptress named Agnes Harmon.
And now Lockhart is making this statement that it was a relationship that was forced, it wasn't like true love where both parties agreed to make love. So this is a complete lie, and he is saying it really well.
My lord, and as you discovered, Mr. Lockhart, Miss Lambe has inherited her mother's hot-blooded ways.
Well, I sought out Miss Lambe that we might come to some sort of accommodation.
This trial is about the money, which party will claim the money, Lockhart or Georgiana, but they are describing Georgiana's mom, like her personality, and she is like nowhere to be seen as of now, and they describing Georgiana's personality like it's similar to her mom's, and it's drawing the attention away from the purpose of the trial, which is divorce. So there's like a waste of time, and they are like accusing Georgiana of who she is as a woman, and that's not important.
But instead, she conspired to be alone with me so that she could try and seduce me.
As you will see from these drawings. Yes, my lord.
Another lie. Well, it's the opposite. He was the one that convinced her, seduced her in his evil techniques that he performed in season 2 to get her to fall in love with him. And she did fall for him, unfortunately. She didn't know, it happened. Now she's twisting the truth. I don't think Charlotte knows the extent of the relationship between Georgiana and Lockhart when it comes to the private painting session that Lockhart and Georgiana had with each other. And he kept those drawings, those paintings to himself to use as evidence against Georgiana. That's sneaky and evil at the same time. So that's why Charlotte was looking at Georgiana what drawing, what they're talking about. And Georgiana starting to freak out, but she's like, that doesn't look like what it looks like. She feels helpless. She's like, this guy is the one that seduced me, not the other way around.
I couldn't be sure you'd come.
Curiosity compelled me. I'm still trying to reconcile the gentleman I have met with the infamous Sir Edward Denham.
I'm no longer the man my reputation suggests.
Augusta is thinking a lot about Edward, but one of the thoughts that she thought of about in regards to him is, how can this man, be a nice man to me? It's like, there's no way that Edward would fall for me. He already has a bad reputation in public.
Yet you have lured me here alone, an innocent young woman.
Did you tell anyone you were coming?
What if I had?
I think it best to keep these encounters to ourselves for now.
Edward, as we know, he can be manipulative. He told her he's not the same man that he was. That's very convincing to hear, but he can really lie really, really good to people. Augusta needs to be careful. She did make a good point. She's like, why are we meeting in private? If you're a good man, you wouldn't be meeting me, like this, you're about to kidnap me or something.
For now. And then what? May I ask what your intentions are, Sir Edward?
My intentions?
She wants to know, why he all of a sudden, wants her, besides the money. And he did try to deny that. He tried to deny that he is not chasing after her because of the money. But she already had that assumption in the back of her mind. She's like, yeah, about that. She doesn't trust him 100% yet, as of now.
My uncle is determined to see me married. He is to hold a shooting party in large part to introduce me to yet more callow suitors. They hold no interest to me.
She basically admitted to him how she feels for Edward. She said, she had no interest in the shooters that expected to attend the shooting party. So indirectly, she letting him know, she is interested in Edward and what this possible relationship may look like down the road for these two.
But if you were to attend...
I have little hope that your uncle would ever consider me a worthy prospect.
Then, since he is my guardian, there seems little point in our continuing to meet.
Definitely the only honest thing he ever said, that he has little hope in being a worthy prospect for Augusta, meeting the expectation of Alexander Heybourne. He knows what he is up against. If he does meet Augusta's uncle, he's like, I don't know if I want to go that far. But he is chasing after her money, so we'll see if he's willing to take a bold step forward and, play that little game once again and trying to get her to fall for him and be together and have control over her fortune.
Although, if what you say is true, that you really are a changed man, then prove it.
She is very demanding in a good way. I mean, it's a good point. Like, prove it that you are a changed man. But then again, she needs to protect herself, protect her heart. She cannot easily trust a man, especially Edward. Like, he deserves a second chance. Like, he can prove to be a good man. But as we know, like, Edward would never change. We'll see if he does change for the good, for her, you know? Like, if it's truly true love, like, he would change for the best, for the woman that he wanted to be with.
No man is irredeemable, Sir Edward. My uncle knows that as well as anyone.
Mr. Lockhart!
What Augusta said at the very end, it reminds me of Lady Denham's statement earlier in this episode, how men don't change. Like, they are fixed at nature at the moment, and they just don't change for their entire lives. And, you know, both statements from Lady Denham and Augusta, it's describing who Edward is, you know? And he had that smirk on his face. He was like, wow, like, this girl, she's very wise, like, her age. And she's, like, much, much younger than Edward is. But I think he was, like, flattered, like, you know, like, how smart she is when it comes to, like, relationship and men in general. And that smirk on his face, like, you know, he knows what he is up to. Like, he knows that he can easily get what he wants, like, you know, with his sneaky technique. But then again, you know, like, he does need to come to that decision, like, okay, Augusta is being real with me, right? Will he be real to her, or will he continue to be the same old Edward that Lady Denham knows that, you know, that he would never change? Like, whether it's for a woman or for a thing in life, like, if something bad happened to him, like, if he had, like, a leg injury or, like, loses his leg, I think that wouldn't change his personality. He would never change himself for the better.
Mr. Lockhart, might I ask how many times you met your uncle?
Regrettably, we only had the chance to meet in person once.
He only met Frederick Lambe once. Like, that's, like, a bad number. Like, okay, he was honest on that, but meeting your uncle once and then claiming his money, like it's your money, I don't know. It's like, to me, like, it's so easy for me to see, like, this whole thing Lockhart is just, you know, trying to steal away from Georgiana.
The fact is, you barely spared your uncle a second thought until you learned there was a fortune to be stolen. I have here the last will and testament of Mr. Lambe.
Samuel is doing well so far. He made a good point. He's like, okay, like, you don't stay in touch. You didn't stay close to your uncle until you find out that he left money. And Samuel trying to bring that into light. Like, you're just basically trying to steal. Like, you don't hear about your uncle and his family.
It states quite clearly he intended to leave his fortune in its entirety to his daughter. And yet here stands Mr. Lockhart.
The will and testament, that's important evidence to have, and it's nice that Samuel brought it to the judge. I mean, that's a hardcore evidence. I mean, that's a strong evidence, I would say. So that's a good thing.
An artist and an opportunist who sought to entrap Miss Lambe into marriage when his suit in Antigua failed.
I was merely trying to save Miss Lambe's honor.
Then Samuel mentioned about how Lockhart is doing all of this because he went to a failed trial in Antigua, and that's when Sidney came into the picture when he went to Antigua to stop Lockhart from stealing the money from Georgiana. And Sidney died, and unfortunately Lockhart, the situation with Lockhart transferred over to Sanditon, England, and now here we are. Samuel is putting Lockhart in his place, and I like it.
And what say you to this will, Mr. Parish?
We're aware of Mr. Lamb's will, but it can hardly be considered admissible. My lord, I wish to call our first witness.
Samuel warned to Georgiana that Lockhart lawyer might have a strong evidence that they can show to the judge in the courtroom, and that strong evidence is the first witness.
Mr. Lambe's physician, Dr. Hardiman.
This is something that Georgiana did not expect. Once again, Lockhart trying to steal the money from her, so he is trying every direction, every technique to win this case. Arthur and Harry ran into each other. Harry knew right from the start that there's something bothering Arthur. Arthur, he's still feeling the guilt that this whole trial is all his fault. It just showed that he cared for Georgiana very much. He really doesn't want Georgiana to go through this.
Mr. Price, the very man. Thank you for coming at such short notice.
What can I do for you, Parker?
I wondered if we might discuss your proposal for the Old Town in a little more detail.
Indeed, we must.
Tom is trying to discuss more about the planning of this hotel. So apparently the seawall is the Old Town, so the location of the hotel will affect the lives of the people living in the Old Town. The Old Town holds a special spot in Mary Hart, so she's not gonna like this.
I have an appointment with an architect this very afternoon. I will report to you tomorrow. Nothing must slow our progress. Tally-ho!
Howard and Walt and Mr. Price stop by for barely 2 minutes and then leave again, and Tom let him go. I was forced him to stay and discuss. Now Tom had to wait again and see what this architect say about building this hotel. This is the importance of timing in planning this hotel is really important. So Tom needs to stay on top of this and figure out okay, are we really doing this? Can we pick another location?
Miss Lambe was altogether suspicious to begin with. And yet, for some reason, I found myself beguiled from the moment I laid eyes on it.
Arthur is explaining to Harry how the situation happened. Georgiana did have a weird feeling about Lockhart, and she did have those protective barriers against Lockhart. She's yeah, you're not gonna be one of those guys that can easily trap me. And Arthur admitted that, he was the one that convinced Georgiana to pursue a relationship with Lockhart.
He made me feel as if I were witty, as if he truly valued my opinion. I convinced Miss Lambe that he could be trusted, and this is the result.
Arthur did mention about how he fell for Lockhart in a way that he really cherished the times and the friendship that he had with Lockhart before this situation happened. And we will relay back on that later on. I don't want to be too ahead of Arthur's love life.
My dear Arthur, I cannot see how you are to blame. This dreadful man came to Sanditon with the express intent of claiming Miss Lambe's fortune. You are not the cause of her situation.
Arthur is sharing the story with Harry, and it just shows that he confides in Harry and trusts him and looked up to him as a friend, a listener that can hear him out and be there for him and support, and just not to judge him, but to listen to him.
You are his victim too.
I don't suppose you have ever suffered such an indignity.
Have I ever given my affections to someone unworthy who later used me ill?
He made a good point. Not only Georgiana is a victim of Lockhart, but Arthur too, because Arthur got really close with Lockhart, as a really good buddy friendship, they did get along, and Lockhart, in a way, used Arthur to get to Georgiana.
Were I to list them, Arthur, it would fill 20 volumes.
Arthur wants to know if Harry, went through the same situation, and I think this is a moment that Arthur realized that Harry is truly a good friend. He's a great listener. He wants to understand Arthur and the feelings that he is feeling for Georgiana in the trial. What Harry said about relationship and how people failed him in the past, he said that if there was a list, it would fill 20 volumes. And to me, it tells me that he went through a lot of heartbreaks in the past and a lot of failed relationship. He is not a perfect guy, he made mistakes, but he also got hurt from people, and he knows what it feels like to be in Arthur's position, and he letting Arthur know that he is not alone. He is not the only one that ever went through this type of situation or feeling like this. It's comforting for Arthur to hear that Harry went through similar situation that Arthur is going through right now, and they shared that common experience, interest with one another. It's a good friendship building between these two men. Alrighty, we'll stop here. I'm trying not to talk too much, but I know these reviews can take an hour, so I'm gonna try to do 12-13 minutes each instead of 15 minutes. Probably not gonna make a huge difference. We'll see, but we'll pick up with the continuation of the trial in next video. As usual, share your comments, give it a like if you like this, subscribe if you haven't. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.